Pleasure to be here, and we have an exciting topic to discuss shortly. Without further ado, I'm just going to invite my panelists to come on stage, and then we'll do a quick round of introduction, and then get straight into our topic about compliance, especially in today's world where we've got new technologies coming up. So, panelists, would you like to join me on stage, please?
Let's go.
Let's go.
And then we'll do a quick round of introductions. So perhaps we can start with you, Nicole?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm really delighted, to be here today at this wonderful gathering. So my name is Nicole Purin. I'm actually stepping in for Ms. Beba, who is appearing on the, on the panel. I am Deputy General Counsel at OKX Exchange, which is one of the largest digital assets exchanges in the world. And I started my career in traditional finance. I've spent the last 20 years working at a number of financial institutions, including here in Dubai, focusing on financial markets and derivatives, and I transitioned into the digital space because I do think that it is the future. It is a very, very innovative area, and certainly lots of great opportunity. And I'm delighted to be on this panel today to brainstorm and explore with my esteemed colleagues as well what the solutions and proposals are in this sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. And Anna.
Hello, my name is Anna Agu. I'm co-founder and partner of Lex Law Office. Lex Law Office is a leading law firm based in Tallinn, Estonia, and Vilnius, Lithuania. We work with international clients all over the world from the fintech space, and of course we are dealing with the compliance issues. I'm also an ex-member of Crypto Assets and Blockchain Working Group, working with the European Commission on the MiCA regulation and co-organizer of the CryptoFin event.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Anna.
Hi, everybody. I'm another Anna. My name is Anna Zeitlin. I head up the FinTech and Financial Services practice at PwC Legal. We're doing a lot of really exciting work with the local governments here in terms of drafting new laws, developing regulatory systems, and also working with private clients, everyone from traditional banks to large cryptocurrency exchanges and other exciting fintech companies.
And Felix.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, everyone. I'm Felix Lomahan. I'm from New York and recently moved here in Dubai. I work in the AML CTIP industry for the last 15 years. I work with top US banks in the US and Wall Street, and previously worked with two startup Silicon Valley companies, VAST. I worked as compliance officer. Right now, co-founded a compliance advisory firm. We are registered at DWTC as a free zone. And we do different types of work to compliance, to do KYC, AML, investigations, and really happy to share the stage with my fellow colleagues to discuss about compliance and the recent updates on the EML industry and crypto and blockchain.
Great, thank you so much. So if I may start with you, Anna Zeitlin. If you could just, these are indeed very exciting times. So much is happening. We've got all these new technologies from Web 3.0, blockchain, crypto. I mean, I could go on and on. So obviously, it's having a great impact on the world of compliance and vice versa. If you could just give us a bird's eye view of what's happening in the regulatory landscape, especially in the UAE. What are we seeing with the likes of ADGM, DIFC, VARA? Just if you can, just paint the landscape for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, one thing I will say is that compliance has never been traditionally a very sexy topic, but there is a lot going on in this field at the moment, and it's certainly becoming a lot more interesting for all of the players. What we're seeing here in the UAE really is a rise of the traditional financial centres such as the DIFC and the ADGM. But we're now seeing new regulators come through, like the Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority. It's a very exciting time. And in terms of regulatory development, things are moving here and they're moving fast. And I really feel like the UAE is setting an example on the international scene. What we are seeing is a lot of foreign eyes looking in at what we're doing here, looking to learn by example, particularly in Europe and particularly in the US. This is probably fueled by the fact that many foreign companies are looking to relocate here. I think in the last couple of months, I've been looking at companies from Israel to New York, to the UK, South Africa, to Australia, all looking to come and set up here. Now, the exciting compliance-related point is that all of these companies have an opportunity to help build the regulatory landscape. So what are we seeing in terms of trends? In the DIFC, they're taking a more conservative stance when it comes to virtual assets, for example. They've established themselves as a very traditional financial center, although we have seen this week a crypto feedback paper where they are looking to embrace a longer list of crypto tokens, and we will see some developments there in November with a new regulation coming in. The ADGM, they've released various best practice guidance notes in the past few weeks, and they are very much open for business in terms of the virtual asset space. It's not to say that it's, completely unregulated. There is absolutely scrutiny by the financial regulators, but the ADGM are taking a less conservative approach than the DIFC. And then we have VARA, the Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority. Now, VARA are going to be the virtual asset regulator for the entire Emirate of Dubai, except for the DIFC free zone. So whilst we're seeing a lot of companies setting up in the Dubai World Trade Center in order to be regulated by VARA and get that virtual asset license, otherwise known as an MVP license, what we will also see happening in terms of trends for the future are other companies in other free zones and the mainland looking to get that VARA license as well. So it's exciting times, things are moving fast, things are developing quickly, and I think it's a very crucial moment for the region.
Thank you, Anna. I think that leads us nicely to sort of drilling down on some of the themes within the compliance space. And Felix, I know you've been very active in terms of especially focusing on AML and counter-terrorist financing. So can you tell us a little bit more about, some of the challenges that regulators are facing specifically with regards to those issues?
Yes, sorry about that. One of the challenges that we've seen, not just here in the UAE, but also in the US, is actually on the standardization when it comes to regulation. We have a different terms. For example, we have the Financial Action Task Force travel rule. In the EU counterpart, they would say transfer of funds. And that's also another issues that we're looking at. And another one is that when it comes to building a platform, I just discussed that with colleague Anna a while ago, and we're talking about every, let's say, a blockchain analytics provider, they're trying to build their own compliant platform for the travel rule. So that's one that we've seen also that creates a problem that would really supposed to be help us out to come up with a standard similar to what we have with ISO or with the traditional banks that we use, the SWIFT Alliance. I think SWIFT Alliance is not a good example. Anyway, But yeah, so that's one, standardization of regulations. And the second one, we've seen a lot of scarcity or scarce talents when it comes to AML and also with background with crypto and blockchain. It's either one of those is missing. It's so tough to get a talent that has both. We've seen this a problem with US. I work with Signature Bank for the last 3 years. I'm the FIU officer, and I interviewed over like 50 applicants, and a lot of them do work on the traditional side of AML. So that's one. One of my questions is that have you tried to buy a crypto? What's your idea about buy and sell? That's really a very basic question when it comes to knowing the background of a prospect candidate if he or she has the background with crypto. So that's the second one, lack of talents or skills that gonna work with traditional AML and at the same time with background with crypto. And the third one, actually, one of the third challenges would be on the collaboration, especially in the side of the US. The US alone, for example, we have different agencies. For example, under the US Treasury, we have FinCEN. Other agencies, we have the SEC, CFTC, and other government agencies. We have a problem when it comes to, going back to my first challenge, standardization. Each agency is like they work separately. We don't have that way for them to really talk together and come up when it comes to regulations. And a lot of them will establish their own regulations, guidance from different agencies. So that would be the third one. And actually, President Biden just released, not really, maybe a few months ago, an executive order that would mandate all the agencies to work together. So hopefully that would be a huge momentum in the US that, hey, we really need to do something. I mean, we've been left behind when it comes to, or that's like overdue when it comes to putting up the regulations. So those are the three challenges that we've seen lately, not just in the US, but also around the world.
Super, super. Thank you so much. And now if I may turn to Nicole. Nicole, I know that following from what Felix has said is giving us a bit of an international perspective as well. And I know that you have worked for more than 15 years in the traditional financial world, and now you are sort of transitioning to the world of crypto, and you're leading one of the main sort of exchanges. So tell us about that experience, and where do you see the synergy and the integration?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, I think that having worked in traditional finance, I mean, that has given me a lot of background and solid, let's say, preparation. I mean, clearly I collaborated very closely with our compliance team whilst I was working with financial institutions, and it is an integral part of the financial sector, and AML, money laundering checks, travel rules, this is absolutely key in order to protect consumers and ensure a level of, very high level of integrity. So with that kind of, let's say, background, I now transitioned into the digital asset space, working for the exchange. And what I wanted to highlight is that I actually see that there is a very strong push to integrate and learn from the traditional financial system and bring the same level of regulatory implementation and controls and risk management controls within also our exchange, which is great. So we have hired talent that has also traditional finance experience, so they can bring all of that great knowledge into this space. I can see that it's a gradual process to implement the relevant risk controls, but I think we are already at a very clearly very advanced stage. We see that also from a technology perspective, there's a very very high level and new selection of providers, third-party providers that are coming up with very efficient and technologically savvy solutions, also for the purposes of, market abuse checks, typologies that will enable to really solidify and strengthen all of the risk control processes and compliance processes within the organization. So at a very high level, I see a gradual and holistic integration between the practices of the conventional financial system into the digital asset space, specifically in the context of exchanges. I think this is a welcome development. There are, of course, because of the technology, I think that probably we could come up with even more innovative solutions, specifically in the context of digital identities. So you know that, as you may know, there are some financial institutions that are still quite, let's say, they use more kind of traditional method of controls, not always open to implementing digital identities. But in the market, we are getting solutions now where data can be stored, digital data about an individual can be stored in actually a card, and the future also of KYC will probably be linked to that. It might be integrating with the blockchain technology as well. So I think that there is definitely scope for balancing out the traditional controls, but at the same time also bringing in innovation, efficiency, and really stepping into the future.
Great. Just in terms of, looking at the future, what do you see would be the next big milestone for that integration to happen? I mean, or when you look ahead, what do you sort of think? Oh, if that happens, that will be a key moment, for the integration of these two worlds, so to speak.
I mean, look, I think as we all know here, that the regulation in the sector is developing. Of course, different regulators around the globe, they have their own standards, although there is certainly going to be a level of harmonization in the long term. So I think it's very important to develop a relationship of trust with regulators, education, ensuring that their requirements are satisfied, but when we present innovative solutions to them, they're open to accept that. So that's, we are seeing that happening more and more. And I think once regulators and the digital asset players will end up speaking the same language with the same common goals, I think that will be the major milestone. So there's still, of course, divergences, but I think more and more similarities are emerging, and my outlook is positive, and I do think that we will be in the next maybe 6 to 12 months, there will be some interesting developments and maybe greater news about these particular prospects. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Last but not least, Anna, I think you have a very interesting perspective from Estonia, right? And we all know that Estonia has been one of the leading jurisdictions when it comes to the adoption of a lot of fintech technologies. So we'd love to hear a bit more from you about what's your experience been like at Estonia. Why do you think Estonia has done so well in this space? And what do you think is the scope for global collaboration or sort of learnings from Estonia?
Yeah, thank you for the question. First of all, I would like to share that Estonia is one of the first countries in the world who started to regulate virtual assets and virtual asset service providers. So we have the regulation in place since 2017. And actually, after this, we had two of big challenges and changes. We had adapted our regulation according to the market needs. In 2017, 2018, there was a huge demand and interest to Estonia from the especially crypto companies. We had more than 2,500 companies, but to be honest and to make sure a lot of companies were not compliant, there was a lot of rubbish, and our regulator and supervisory authorities reacted to this. We had several supervision and we had changes in the regulation. Now the level of the regulatory requirements are pretty high. That means that Estonian virtual asset service providers are actually financial institutions according to the law. They need to have compliance officer, external, internal audit, high capital requirements, 100K or 2,500K. They need to have AML policies, sanctions policies, etc. So it's quite similar to the traditional financial institutions. The same, for example, for the crowdfunding companies. Now, in the European Union, in Estonia, crowdfunding companies need to get the license until November 2022. Before, it was the service that was provided without the license and supervision of the government authorities. Now it is not possible, so they need to meet all kind of traditional financial world standards and compliance rules. So if we are talking where are we moving, so unfortunately, or there is a not clear understanding that there is some kind of exception for the fintech projects. Actually, no. The traditional AML rules, traditional financial law principles are absolutely applicable to all fintech projects. The key point is, of course, communication between regulators and market players, not to kill the innovation and give the possibility to them to grow the business within that frameworks of the regulatory requirements. So this is the vision what we have in Estonia. Pretty same it is in Lithuania. Of course, it is important to mention that we are all in the European Union waiting for the MiCA regulation, which will be like a fundamental legal basis for all WASPs and cryptocurrency issuers. And of course, MiCA will bring a lot of transparency to the market. And of course, it will be providing additional consumer protection for the investors and for the users of virtual currency platforms. So it is a big step for the adoption, for the clearance, for the transparency, for the compliance in general, and we are waiting to have it in place in the nearest future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for the audience for listening. I think our time's up, so we'll pass it to the next panel then. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.